I wonder where Pete would have had BMAC ranked in his rankings.
They were throwing over the top of him back in those days.
That's what it was.
Well, Pete Brisco, for those of you at home unfamiliar, he is our power rankings guru, and you haven't written one in a while, but we put you to task to put the players in this game. And I got to start with Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to put over under 1.5 seconds that you put Mahomes at number 1, Pete.
Take the under. I mean, believe me, it was right away. There's no doubt he's the best player in this game, but he's also the best player in the National Football League, and he's moving to a level that is Tom Brady-like and maybe even Michael Jordan-like. I always say teams and quarterbacks who lose to him, it's okay. It's like Barkley and those guys back in the day. You're losing to Michael Jordan. He's the best player in the league. He's on his way to becoming the best quarterback who's ever played, and if he wins this one, I think he's ahead of that game already.
Yeah, no argument from me yet. I'm going to rip his list apart in a few. But when you talk about Money Pat Mahomes, man, he continues to impress all of us. When we felt like we've seen everything that he can give as a leader, as a quarterback, he surprises us once again. I thought what we saw last year was surprising. Remember having the ankle injury and then finding a way to make that big-time play to be able to advance to get to last year's Super Bowl. And looking at what he did in the AFC Championship game in that last possession, you know, 3rd and short, takes the shot deep and was able to complete that said pass. So Pat Mahomes is one of the best players, as you mentioned, man. I know Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Pat Mahomes just moved very, very close to the house that Tom Brady built throughout his career.
I don't think there's any argument there, but surely argument elsewhere. I'm interested in how you rank defensive players. Looking at that list, 5 was the soonest one we saw, and that was Chris Jones, Pete. There's 10 All-Pros in this game, and Jones has been sustained success. Last 3 seasons, leading defensive tackles in sacks, pressures. He really changes the game for this Chiefs defense that's led the way this year. What does he mean to what they're going to try and do on Sunday?
He's a game wrecker. I mean, he's an absolute game wrecker, and he particularly is a game wrecker in big moments and in big games. That's what he does. He shows up in the big moments, and I think he'll show up in this game in a big way. Look, when they try and block him, particularly I think they'll put him on the left side of the defensive line. The right side of the offensive line for the San Francisco 49ers is a problem area for him. They're not great, so I think they'll attack him over there, and I think he's in for a big day. Like I said, he's a game wrecker, and of all the game wreckers, and there are a lot of them in this game, and Nick Bosa is a game wrecker as well. I think he's the best of the best.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's the best defensive lineman that will be playing in the Super Bowl Sunday. No disrespect to Bosa, but as you mentioned, Chris Jones, in the biggest moments, he oftentimes put forth his best effort. And I love the versatility that he has. He's like a 5-2 player on the defensive front. He can play the 5, he can play the 3. He moves around anywhere on the defensive front, but he's super impactful, not just against the pass, but of course against the running game as well. And they're going to have their best effort, because if they get CMC going, man, look out. It could be a long night.
Pete just said it. The season started with show me the money, and he showed us why.
Well, he showed everybody the money, but he's in line to get a huge payday now for whoever gives it to him, whether it's the Chiefs or whoever. He's in line for a big payday. You do it on the biggest stage, and you can even get that much more money.
So far, so good.
Seems like
when Brian McFadden and Pete Prisco. But that's where things end, because now we're going just outside the top 10, and it's Deebo Samuel at 11. Pete Prisco, some would say that's too low. You think you are just right with good old Deebo here in the 2nd tier.
By the way, when he starts picking apart my list, this is called He's Entitled to His Wrong Opinion segment. That's what it's called. Look, obviously it's close between Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, but I went with Ayuk. I think he's a game stretcher. He's had a phenomenal season. He's the best pure receiver in this game. No question about it. And I think his ability to get down the field will change the dynamic of the offense. Yeah, they throw a lot of short passes and turn them into big plays. That's what they do. The 49ers will do that. But I think Ayuk gives them a dimension where you have to respect him. And what's the strength of this defense for the Kansas City Chiefs? It's the back end. It's the corners. You have to match up. And with the threat of the pass down the field, I think it's going to open up some other stuff.
Pete, you only said one correct thing throughout your statement. Yes, he's the best pure receiver for San Francisco, but he's not the best playmaker for San Francisco. And I think if you were to, I disagree. I think Deebo should be higher than Brandon. Brandon has played phenomenal. He's set up for a nice payday as well. He's shown the ability to be a big-time wide receiver 1 if need be. But I believe, guys, if you were to remove Deebo Samuel from this game, him not being in the lineup would be a bigger impact if you were to remove Brandon Ayuk.
Disagree.
We saw it throughout the year, not Ayuk, but we saw Deebo not in the lineup.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened.
Because Deebo does more than Brandon Ayuk. Brandon is a receiver. Deebo is a receiver, and he's a runner. He's a guy that you have to account for because he does so much in their offense. And for Brandon, he's just a pure receiver, and he does so exceptionally well.
Let me ask you this. If Samuel's carrying the ball, is that better than Christian McCaffrey carrying the football?
It's not better,
No,
but it
it's not
gives you
better.
more to think about.
It's not better.
As a defender, you have to worry about
No,
19.
stop it.
And when 19
If
is
I'm
in the
playing-
backfield, because the thing about their offense, and you know about this with Kyle Shanahan, he has the ability to have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel in the backfield at the same time.
I get it. But
And
if he's
both
carrying the
guys-
ball, it ain't as good as Christian McCaffrey carrying
But it's
the ball.
not about the carrying. It's about where he is that you have to account for.
And he's not as good a receiver as Brandon Ayuk.
I'm not going to say that. They just don't
He's
use
not.
him the same way
He's
they
not.
use Brandon.
He's not the same.
Okay.
Maybe
He was better up until this year. He's not better now.
From a game plan standpoint, Deebo does present issues for an opposing defense. We'll see how big of a part of this offensive attack he is. Set a record last time they were in the Super Bowl, most rushing yards by a wide receiver in a Super Bowl. We'll see with that shoulder if that's where they
Brandon
want to go
Ayuk
with
against man coverage, third in the league.
Is that it?
Third in the league.
Remind me
is
where he
very
went.
good.
Remind me where he went
Went to
school?
Arizona State.
I rest my case.
Sounds about right.
We have another conversation to have,
Yes,
and
we
it's
do.
maybe about the, not elephant in the room, but the irrelevance in the room. Some 652 days ago, that man heard his name called from this water behind us in Brock Purdy. You've got Purdy sitting at the number 13 most impactful player in this game. Explain to me how you got to that number when we're talking about the quarterback of the team in this game, Pete.
It's not value. If you went value, he'd probably be a lot higher.
Okay.
It's how you play your position. Is he better at his position than those guys ranked ahead of him are at their position? And the answer to that question is no. And he's had a phenomenal year. You keep looking like you're crazy. He's had a phenomenal year. But again, he didn't. The last 2 weeks, he had a bunch of plays where they could have been easily intercepted. Those bad throws, and he got away with them. I think there's moments where you wonder, should he be ranked higher, or moments where you wonder if he should be ranked lower. So I put him at 13.
I do not have Brock Purdy's season stats right here in front of me, but I believe, just thinking off the top of my head, he would be tops in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and I think probably in interceptions. That's top level when you talk about his position, when you look at so many other quarterbacks that many naysayers believe they're better than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy not being inside the top 10 is wrong. Pete Prisco, I know you're right here to my left, but I'm talking to the camera to let them know you're dead wrong. If you take Brock Purdy off this team right now and you say, Sam Darnold, go get us a championship, you don't feel too confident in that happening.
I don't think it would be that much of a drop-off.
Oh, we just saw Sam Darnold play in the final week of the season against the Rams, and the Rams set everybody.
I don't think it
and
would
guess
be-
what
This is great.
happened?
You said position-wise, you put Creed Humphrey ahead of Brock Purdy.
What are we doing?
Creed Humphrey's a better player at his position than Brock Purdy is at his. Creed Humphrey is arguably the second best center in the National Football League. Is Brock Purdy the second best quarterback in the NFL? Hell no.
I'll tell you
I'll
this.
tell you this much. Hold on before you go, Joe.
You tell them.
take
Yeah, we
Creed
gotta
out
start wrapping this
and
thing up.
put me at center, they probably would be okay.
You wanted a number,
You take
Matt.
Brock out, they don't have a shot.
4,280, 4,280 passing yards this season for Brock Purdy.
What is that rank?
No San Francisco 49ers quarterback has ever had more in a single season. I know different game, but he's done exactly
Do we
what
know
has
where
been
that?
asked
That's
of him.
like top 3 probably,
The
right?
numbers
top
are
4?
good.
He's a good player. He's not top 10 player in this game yet.
It is only Monday.
He is.
No,
It is, and my blood is boiling
And
right
we have
now.
nothing but time to sort this all
Yeah,
out. They will
he
sort it
has
out
my
on
blood
Sunday.
boiling right now.
We're just getting started here from the Super Bowl, the Bellagio Fountains in Las Vegas. The Pick Six podcast is here. Katie Mox, Will Brinson, Ryan Wilson, John Breach. The fellas are here. They taped something for you last night. Scan the QR code and check out the Pick Six podcast from Vegas all week.